1-0 after a pretty exciting back and forth game in game number 1. Xiaoye snowballing on the Draven, Haicha with some important picks on the Ahri, and the RNG's outrange comp could not survive the onslaught onto their front line as the game got a little later. Triple AD carry bans on the blue side from RNG. A little bit of a surprise. In fact, there's another triple AD carry bans on the other side. We've just dropped 6 AD carries, guys. They're all gone. Disappeared. No longer available for the draft. Puts us into a bit of an opposition in terms of what is going to be picked. Varus obviously down. The Karma Shinzao might well get locked. You begin to start wondering about what's up and available. Xayah likely going up in priority, you have to feel. Aside from that, maybe something like the Aphelios, the Jinx, maybe can be a consideration at this point. Are you feeling aggressive with something like those Nymaera options? But they're thinking about locking in a Xayah themselves early and denying that one from LWX. Kai'Sa's still up, worth noting. So it might just be a return to Season 8 with that Kai'Sa meta. LWX had a pretty solid game on the Kai'Sa. Would make some sense to potentially look back to that one. There we go, that's a little better on my end. I like to full screen it so I can see what the heck's going on. That always feels a little bit better. You see, what do they want to lock in here for Tangyuan? Hui has been an option for a number of people over the split. Has been pretty successful as a control mage and an artillery piece in and of its own right. Definitely now need to think about probably locking an AD carry here, though. Otherwise, they're going to get round to their second phase abandon with 6 AD carries plus Xayah picked away. There's not many left to be going with. Debating a Jinx. See whether it's actually locked in. We kind of mentioned the Kai'Sa as a potential remaining option, but there really aren't very many left at all. So it is going to be Jinx Xayah as the lock-in.
So Jinx has been rising up in priority in the LPL, particularly as an answer to Smolder, but people have just realized, well, if the lane carries are out, Jinx scales really well. Why wouldn't we play this champion? So you've got the Jinx Nautilus way, really good single target burst damage. So with LGD, wouldn't surprise me if they wanted to angle towards Shinzao on 3 for Meteor. You already don't have the Alistar available because you've locked in the Rakan. So you're thinking about the champions which can survive that kind of combo and remove RNG's ability to play through that first pick. If they get 1 kill, Jinx starts resetting, things get very, very difficult because you don't really have much ability to stop the Jinx doing that right now outside of a really good mantra Q to cut down their HP bar.
Yeah, or is Jin Zhao sacrificing himself, diving forwards with the grand entrance into quickness and praying. But it's a lot harder to pull off when Jinx is moving so fast. Your grand entrances aren't as easy to guarantee a good knock-up. And instead, they're thinking, actually, I'd rather get rid of some of these top lane answers that are a bit blind pickable for Breathe, especially because obviously LGD do have the Luke Skywalker pick in Red 5 standing by. I'm just never going to let that go. It's too good of a reference to lock in some Birdle, who had a good Aatrox game again, though did eventually become something of a target for Tangyuan and Breathe to make success.
And then RNG, one last ban. I would have... Look, folks, I just think you should lock in the Shinzao here. Like, not lock in, but, like, block it away. I think it's such an easy pick in.
Oh, yeah.
Meteor on this one. It is blocks away. So, LGD, they'll have to find another way to survive this first combo. Meteor, I mean, he has been a Sejuani player in the past, but you're not playing with melee synergy. You need something which can survive in the front line. I don't think there's much left on the table I can do that from jungle. This would be different. You know, Meteor has been a big carry player in the LPL. A lot of our jungle champions have been. With K'Sante banned by themselves, I wonder if that's a shot in the foot, actually, because I think Birdle would have liked to play that one and to be a bit of a frontliner for the team. You need a frontline so much, because if you're going to be so easy to kill on the first champion, I mean, you have 4 very squishy champions. The reset's going to be absolutely catastrophic.
Double AD carry with the Enchanter makes sense, but your frontline, as you said, not exactly high value. Kha'Zix's being hovered, but it's been a very long time since that's ever been in the jungle, so we're going to have to wait and see. I think the last time we were really seeing Kha'Zix when he had that ridiculous passive where every time he walked into a bush he'd turn invisible. It was very, very silly.
The last time we saw it from Wei was last year.
Oh,
so
true.
He's actually a big Kha'Zix player.
No,
so
yes.
While you're right in terms of the meta, Wei is a huge Kha'Zix player and played it even last year, just going for big assassination style, playing Umbral Glaive and then allowing your... Actually, it was a big thing in LPL in general. You go with Umbral Glaive, but I think that RNG, despite that fact that the assassination would be really fun, they want a way to now stop the Kindred ult getting value, something like a, typically you think of Gragas or something like Lee Sin, Poppy.
Yeah,
all of these champions pretty big there in terms of getting someone out of that ultimate. They go towards the Lee Sin, it is locked in, kick away now available.
So now what do they want to go at the end of this? Malphite would be the front line they're missing, it'd be another engaged piece. Rumble would be a very different take. We'll see what they decide on. They're kind of going through a few options.
You need tanky frontline. I think Udyr gives you the ability to play towards lane pressure as well. Rumble is not frontline, but it allows you to at least drop that ultimate on the backline. Okay, so LGD's philosophy is a good offense is a good defense, because if you can kill the carries in the backline, they don't get to do anything. If you drop the ultimate onto a combination of Jinx, Hui, and Jace, the slow is big, the burn is big, and maybe it allows something like a Mantra Q as well to finish off a couple of those carries. That you have now gone for quite heavy AP in solo lanes, and even recanting some as well. Incentivize going Mercury's treads and a couple of other things.
Carries to manage too.
This is such a risky composition from LGD, actually. I think that RNG's composition has largely longer range between Hui, Jason, and the Jinx W as well, and they have reset potential. LGD have about one shot in every team fight to land. If that fails, they get blown out. Risky stuff from LGD. They need to make sure that equalizer is hugely valuable. Otherwise, you're asking yourself, why didn't you lock in a frontline?
Being interesting, because a lot of their frontline is effectively just like damaging abilities that do zone control. Equalizers and Mantra Qs and feathers and all of that kind of thing, which, in fairness, is pretty threatening to walk through, don't get me wrong, but you've already mentioned, like, there's a fairly solid ranged options here with the Hui and the Jason, the Jinx with the rockets and potentially a rapid fire cannon. You don't actually have to walk into that minefield necessarily to threaten the members who are trying to use that zone control to hold on to a bit of space. That said, of course, there's not really a lot of tanky members on RNG side either, so if they are hit with one of those AD carries running wild or a Karma or an Equalizer or something, like, it could still be very dangerous for them.
Yeah, that's why there's value in LGD's comp. It is risky, but if they play it out perfectly, there's a lot of value. They have the damage because both teams are very, very squishy. I just feel like RNG have a much easier comp to play. I think it's longer range. I think the resets are so terrifying as well. LGD, they need a strong early game. They need strong team fight. Level 1 currently, I think quite interesting, is Jin Xiao could potentially W4. They spot Tanyuan. Can they force a flash? No, he backsteps it.
Nice backstep there from Tanyuan, who remains in the roster as well, despite some wonders about whether XEZ might be starting. Had a solid enough game one. It wasn't anything necessarily to write home about, but was fine on the Karma. Now back onto something a little bit more different in the way. Trading out one Ionian Spiritualist for a Painter instead.
That he is. A whole lot of Ionia represented in this one. If you see yourself, we are definitely going for all level 1. Jin Xiao, can you get caught?
Oh, that's not bad. There's a lot of damage back though. That Ricard goes so down. The damage back on Dominguez Future makes it a 1-for-1, but the first blood went the way of Nautilus compared to Xayah picking it up on the other side.
And I feel like you take the Golden Shire. If you can get a clean recall off to get himself a longsword before the first back, or he won't have enough for a cull, I don't think that's 450 gold, but he can get himself a longsword or boots, goes for the dagger. It gives him some extra threat in lane. Ming walking away with boots into lane first, though, is pretty important. Potentially allows you to step out of that W in laning phase. So 2v2 now, can be very different with summoners down and extra items on the board early into the game.
Way down flash, Ming down flash and ignite. It's still a summoner advantage just about to LGD, so worth noting that as well. Could prove problematic as the game goes on. As you can see, Wei actually going for the early invade onto the red buff of Meteor. So Meteor now needs to think about where he wants to path. Of course, Kindred's kind of happy to split map if she can, or they can, I apologize.
Yeah, they are plural. There's a he and a she both in there. And both of them very, very deadly in their own rights. It does sometimes feel like Wolf isn't necessarily part of the kit, but when that E hits you, you remember they're there. Breathe, great trade onto Birdle. He should not have greeted for that XP like that. Gets massively chunked out, and now suddenly there is a dive option on the table because Birdle greets for early XP. Wei can just, well, he doesn't have flash, but he can potentially force a flash from Birdle now.
Be difficult. There's the level 2. Birdle a little less at risk. Has still got a health pot to his name, so still play this one out, and the recall comes on through. Big wave coming.
So I think basically because Wade doesn't have flash, Birdle has flash and ignite, and you don't know where Meteor is, you can't realistically stay around for the dive if it takes too long to crash that wave in, which indeed it does. Now Birdle, he's still under a little bit of threat, but he pops that pot, and he should be fine for the next bit now. And with that extra ignite, it means that for the next phase of lane, he can get himself into a decent position. Thing is, Breathe and Teleport can buy himself a better recall for items and then get back into lane. That's the trade-off between ignite and that Teleport.
And Kindred has now found out they do not have a red buff, or Krugs have, pinged the Krugs, hopped over the wall, realised they're not there as well, has to reset, and Wei, already gone for the invade, already reset, already back on the map with the longsword, feeling very happy about it.
you know, Ming, that stat came up in terms of 100 there. That's not 100 games in the LPL. I think that might be 100 Nautilus games in the LPL.
Wow.
I think that might be it. This guy's been playing it for years. I can't confirm that. If anyone else can check that, it'll be fantastic for us. But that, he's got way more than 100 games in the LPL, obviously, but that was a thing over there. Either way, big stuff. Unless, wait, unless there's 100 kills. Surely he's had more than that. Because again, just even with like 500 games in the LPL, you should have that. Either way. Stats, we've had a lot of milestones in the LPL this year.
Worth noting as well, Wei got lucky there with the spawn of the Scuttle Crab, has nabbed that one away from Meteor. Of course, the bot side Scuttle Crab is still up, so probably will be doing that trick you do on Kindred, which is delay taking it and letting the mark spawn in about 20 seconds.
Really like what Meteor's done here as well, where he just kind of goes back for a Doran's Blade early and says, okay, I'm against an early burst champion that Lee Sin. Let's make sure I have fighting potential. The extra HP really helps too, so you can start firing back against Wei. Be a real duelist. Gets right into the bot side jungle, drops some vision down alongside it. That's very important. He has, you know, an extra ward to put down somewhere too. He's happy taking farm. That's completely fine for him. And again, as you said, you can go back towards that scuttle on the bot side after going for the invade as well. Use that wave crash to make sure that Jin Zhao can also come in. And you really looking for a dive
here? We go.
Ming no flash.
Tried to go forwards, haven't really taken tower aggro as yet. Now they have teleports coming on through, get the final auto, LWX is dead and they're running away. Meteor needs to be a bit careful, does have the flash, but he's already managed to hop out, and actually that's a teleport and a kill. So LGD feeling very pleased about what they earned there.
Yeah, really good tower aggro juggling. I thought that would be dangerous. You're against the Nautilus under turret, but the Nautilus didn't have flash, so he couldn't necessarily get that dedicated CC. LWX goes down. He's resetting onto the map, and you can see that because Tanyuan teleports bot side to try and stave off the dive, LWX is going to catch this wave in mid lane, then go back towards bot lane as Tanyuan resets and goes towards mid lane. That's typically the way that you get the most CS from this. Meteor gets himself that bot side scuttle now finally on the retreat from that play as Wei goes towards top side and secures the grubs.
Worth noting as well, there's a control ward in towards the blue side jungle of LGD that did spot out Meteor, so he's a known quantity for Wei, so felt pretty happy to take those grubs in the face of the Kindred. While Wei flies over to take away the second spawning of the Krugs, continues to just live in this top side and make Birdall a little bit wary about trading too aggressively up here.
See that Breathe, really good laning phases in both games actually. Breathe has been the player for RNG this split, the one which you don't have criticisms for really. No, you can't blame it on him. Birdall misses out a cannon. Cannon does end up giving himself, get himself that last one. Some notoriety all the same, but Birdall not going to be that particularly ahead in this game. He's been doing okay in terms of surviving as LGD get value elsewhere on the map, but you can see from the CS advantage there, and in mid lane as well, weirdly as well. You can see that RNG are keeping even in gold, and that's important. If you get gold onto Hui and onto Jace, they can be such a big threat to LGD. Feels like RNG, they're playing through artillery, they're playing through multiple shots coming out of the howitzers later in the game. LGD are much more about a shotgun, one big fight.
Manages a ward hop forward onto a minion, now trying to back away. It's a good knock-up flash forward from LWX. Goes running as well, there's no real way for Xiaoye to get out to safety. Another auto would do it, and they claim the life of the Xayah.
So, kill towards the Jinx. RNG, if they manage to hold even in the early game, I think that I really like their composition. They have a big range advantage, and they could look to push this to a game 3, of course, if they were to walk away with this one. No stakes in this again, have to bears repeating. Neither of these teams are making playoffs. They are playing for pride, and they're playing for just showing that they are good players. LWX, difficult game in game number 1. Looks to potentially dive Jin Zhao. You can see that Xiaoye on his way back to lane. Meteor will be towards bot side. No level 6s between them.
They're going to go for the hook. They know they're there. Meteor's still around. They can look to try to punish this one regardless. Meteor has not revealed themselves, so it will be the end of that. Significant turnaround in the bot lane after a very good dive from LGD. The turnaround here with Wei just lane ganking on the reset. There's a lot of damage there to LGD's prospects in the bot lane.
Dragon, started up by RNG. This ward here down in Dragon Pip, seen that a lot this split actually. Munchables called it out on cast the other day, and I realized, oh yeah, we are seeing that a lot. So that Dragon's going to be on full vision from LGD. Again, no level 6s. Jin Zhao caught, has flash and has to use it.
Wei flashing forwards himself, can't quite get the last auto, and has to safeguard out to safety on Meteors around. This could get a bit dicey for RNG.
That's going to stop the Dragon being taken. Haicha gets priority in mid lane. You can see that Tanyuan over the wall has level 6, but the health bars aren't really low enough to make the most of it. You've got the CC into the Severing Bolt. You know, I have Sauron on the floor helping up with that one. But still, Meteor able to take that one. Birdle stopping a recall on the top side. Potentially looking for a play here. Has the Ignite, and he's back with full HP. Tier 2 boots against a tier. Strong point and power for him. Can he make a big play out of this? Goes overhit soon.
So it's going to have the Ignite down as well. That's a lot of damage on a Breathe, who does at least get the Thundering Blow by to the skies, and then getting on the other side of the Rumble.
I guess that Hammer Strike away from him buys some distance. So even though Birdle has Flash, he can't get away from that one and keep himself on the target. So Ignite's taken. Breathe still safe in this laning phase, and somehow no kills out of that last stage of play. Thought that was very close to it. That does mean, though, that we have a lot more people on the map still, waiting for the next big fight. Grub spawning in 46 seconds. Dragon not taken, actually, from either of these teams. Meteor peeled off of that one, wanted to be elsewhere on the map to keep farming up. This Kindred needs to be strong in this game, make no mistake. Can do a lot of damage late game, but you cannot afford to fall behind. I don't think many people can afford to fall behind in this kind of squishy game. There's so much damage on the table. If you start seeing these big leads start to build up, that's a big problem for the other team.
Worth noting as well that Meteor, I think, only has the one mark right now because they only got the one Skull Crab early. Hasn't changed mark target from Way the entire game. Didn't want to give away the bot lane dive was on, so didn't switch that over because, of course, switching it over doesn't reveal, but lets the recipient of the hunted mark kind of know that they are now the target of Kindred. So didn't give that one away. Just walking across vision right now. Bone down the sweeper, but a little late. That ward there has already done its damage.
I wonder if RNG are leaving this mark up on top side and trying to bait in a play. I think that's exactly what they're doing. Way's now going to walk over a wall, breathe strong, and they get caught out. Who's catching who?
Kicked over the wall, but that now means Way is down that, and Breathe is left in a difficult position. He has to flash too.
Has to flash, but he has himself the phase rush, so he's out safely. Now, this does mean Meteor gets onto the Gromp. This is a mark. This is why they're fighting over it. This is why RNG thought they might have a leg up in the mental game, saying, well, they're going to go towards this. The mark is still up. Let's wrap around, but LGD, they maybe sniff that one out, and they win out all together. They blow a flash, and they force that Way from his own jungle as well. They get on the mark. That's important for them. Does leave Shaya alone on this bot side. It means that potentially with level 6 from Ming, that Shaya could be in trouble. He'd have to blow ult for ult. Feathers pulled down.
Ming gets a staggering blow. The damage back is decent, but it's not enough to get the kill. And Shaya gets to stay on the tower for now, I think. And now actually Jinjao is here. With Aldivios could be in a spot of bother. I don't think.
Ult.
Yeah, the lack of ult definitely hurting there. Worth noting as well, Kindred did not take all the grubs. In fact, only took for one, interestingly. Coming over here, they want to fight for this dragon instead, which is still up. They can go over the wall! Can't quite get the smite. Was definitely in the pit that way. Remember, no flash can get over the wall, though. Had the ward just about available there to ward hop too.
Yeah, he had himself that pink ward, so it's not like he was waiting on a trinket. He was just waiting to see if maybe he could get a teammate over so he didn't have to waste that pink ward. All the same, Meteor gets a mark on the bottom side. And funnily enough, he didn't get a mark from that Gromp on the other side of the map, so he must have missed out on someone.
Maybe it respawned or
somewhere
despawned
elsewhere.
Yeah.
Still, 2 marks of him would have been nice for him to get towards 3. Again, 4 marks rather. Not in terms of the grubs, that's a completely different thing. But in terms of 4 marks of the Kindred, so important because it gives you that first range increase, which gives you 75 extra range. It means you go from 500 range to 575 range, something like that. It really increases things for to kind of put things in context. I think it's a lot of like your short range AD carries are like around 550 range a lot of the time to 500 or so, 500 to 550. So once you get up to 575, you go beyond just being a short range AD carry, but you need to get 4 marks for it. It's why it's such a high mark for it. You need to kind of earn that one to give your place in terms of safety. And of course, it gives you a lot of other stats too. Your Q attack speed when you press that, the execute damage from your E, and then of course the percent health damage on your W as well. You have a lot of ramping ability damage from a lot of those marks coming through.
Yeah, I think one of the ones that's always slept on a bit as well is that the W, the Wolf's Frenzy. The percent HP increases as you get those marks. Gets really, really nasty, particularly into some of those tanky members. You just sort of lose.
You also max a second.
Yeah, you do. Yes, you do.
Yeah, and it's been a long time since we've seen the A max. The W max means you just put down that field, and you know we're talking about range advantage coming in from RNG. Just having that little like the wolf prancing around, it can be really good to just stop people entrance into a certain area. Right, of course you have to stand in the W, which is not as fun. And I think a lot of this game, the later it goes, will be about that range advantage. So, RNG, you have Eclipse onto Breathe. Breathe Jace did so much work last game, even though it did end up walking away with a loss. That Jace was not the problem there. Tanyuan he's been pretty okay on this way as well. It feels like this has been one of the champions which he's found more stability on. He's a player who's not always had the biggest champion pool as a pro player. He's not always had the most stability as a pro player. He came in to, you know, be this person who could potentially be the replacement for Xiao, who Breathe. 2v2 topside.
Gonna get a 1v1 split apart here as Meteor and Wei trading on out. Gets kicked away. The flash forward from Birdall, though, means that Breeze's in danger! And a hop forward claims a kill for Birdall. The rocket comes flying, but it is wide. Tang Yuan is here to no avail. And LGD pick up a kill on the top side.
Birdall pounces. Wei tries to make it into an even 2v2, but he can't get the damage done onto both members. Tang Yuan misses out. Wei flash, but misses the Q. Slick sidestep by Birdall. As in the grand scheme of things, it kind of ends up being a 2 for 2 with an added third in from Tang Yuan at the end. It goes down for a 1 for none to the side of LGD. Birdall picks up the kill.
It's a big one, of course. We were saying it was a little bit dicey for Birdall earlier in the game when Wei had split the map and Birdall was kind of caught in the tower, having been a little bit greedy trying to play for that level 2. A lot better now with 1 kill. He's got the rocket belt early here as well for a little bit more DPS. We'll have a look at this replay because Meteor is here first and Wei tries to make this 2 separate 1v1s.
And you can understand why RNG are going towards this, right? They have the jungler on top side and they have mid lane priority. Teleport comes through though, makes it into a 3v3. And sadly, for the side of Wei and Breathe, they can't burst down a single target. They get both top and jungle to like 200 HP and they can't finish off either.
Kraken Slayer's in for Kindred, not quite towards anything. That's actually a third mark as well.
Yeah.
I think that was, it wasn't Meteor who... he's actually interesting. He's managed to mark Wei again, so I don't think it was Wei that was marked.
No, I think he ended up getting another mark from a camp, presumably, but then he's ended up he's still got his mark on the way. So he needs to be careful not to die to that one again. So close to that range increase. Just had a big conversation about how Kindred gets a lot of value from 4 marks. Birdall doesn't have ult. He probably won't have a health bar soon after this. He's stopped from recalling and he's
wave.
Turret, but there's no wave. You're absolutely right. Birdall's still stuck under here. But what's the response from LGD? Can they cross map? They're potentially looking towards mid lane, but while this is happening, Birdall is almost certainly dead top lane. What happens on the rest of the map? Looks like it's a mid lane turret push, no kills.
That's a solid rocket belt over. Tries to get towards the wave and does a bit of DPS. There's no real way to go out. They're still going to get first turret in the bot side from Xiaoye, who
and mid lane as well
for free. And in the mid lane, you're absolutely right. That goes down as High Chow and Meteor there managed to do that one. They might trade for a tier 2 top side at least though.
So Breathe kind of showing his experience and saying that, look, I'm just going to walk away from this mid lane out of turret. No sense me dying. RNG though, they have the Herald. So when it comes to this, inner turrets are worth more gold. Shia is walking towards bot side though as well and get some good chunk damage onto that bot lane inner turret. I don't think they can really return to this though. So there's not too much value from that one.
No.
All the same though, I mean, let's think about the grand scheme of things. 2 turrets, but they're 2 outer turrets compared to 2 turrets, but they're in 1 lane. I feel like LGD get more map pressure out of this because they've opened up the first kind of like facing of the map, even though top lane is a very hard lane to play around to push in because people will just be around Baron anyway most of the time. Dragon though can potentially help. That has spawned. It will be second Dragon of the game for RNG. You have big ultimates coming up for RNG. Well, some of them were down. Looks like they've all come back up again. All the ultimates back up again. We have a lot of flashes. You know what? We are fully armed and ready to go.
These Arsenals are definitely hot and ready to be pulled. The primed power of these teams pretty high at this point.
So look to see where the hook lands. It's going to land and miss just there. And the next thing we have to look out for is what's going to happen with the equalizer. If it tags onto the backline, that could be enough space LGD can buy. Dragon being started.
It's not bad. Onto the backline, splits it up. The Dragon secured. Now Wei in a difficult position. Tries to ward off over the one. Fails it. He's dead. That makes it another kill and a mark to Kindred. That's 4.
Okay, so mark over to Kindred. Perfect. We talked about the equalizer and why. Why, if you're not going to pick a front line, that equalizer has to have big value. It does right there. The backline has to back off as Wei goes in for the steal. So LGD, they stop 2 dragons going over to RNG, and they get themselves some golden pocket and a mark. Big victory for them. RNG, this is not necessarily, a game-breaking play for them. They still have a range advantage later into the game, but they couldn't use it at that Drake fight. Next time we see the big objectives, you need to see them actually buy time. Right here, they're stuck all together, the equalizer tags onto a load of people, and yes, the Locket Shield does buy a lot of the damage off. The backline still has to walk away from the Dragon. Wei is still left alone, and he dies. So, still, job done by that equalizer.
And I think as well, he fails the ward hop out of the pit, not quite close enough to the wall to get the ward hop over, which feels a little bit sad, but there you are. Wei now jumping away with the safeguard. Meteor beginning to invade. There is a mark on the Gromp. Don't think LGD are going to be fighting for that one quite yet, as Xiaoye takes the opportunity to shove the wave into mid lane. That was another thing that did, of course, come out, was that mid lane turret falling. And yes, the gold value of a tier 2 is good, but mid lane tier 1 is just such a key turret.
Yeah, for sure. When you take out the bot lane outer and the mid lane inner, it makes it so much easier to go into the enemy jungle and put down wards. You can see that currently, RNG, no wards across the river. I think they have Scuttle Crab taken in topside, but no wards across the other side of the map. You can see that LGD, they're starting to get those now. So LGD, they're going to have a bit of better map pressure. Tanya needs to be in a bit careful here. He might have to. Neutral jumping forwards.
He's still in danger.
Late.
There's going to be another Q available, and it's just a kill back. The Spiraling Despair comes through, and Haichao will pick that kill up. That was pretty easy, frankly.
Haichao, one of these rookie players in LGD, both him and Xiaoye coming up and making a mess of a lot of the LPL.
Wei,
their own points. Wei misses out his Q. Meteor can really start to threaten now as well. Wei needs to be careful. Kraken Slayer, Steel Caps, it means that Meteor pretty good at shrugging off some of that damage and turning around a lot in turn. Now, all 3 outer turrets down from LGD. Is there a cross map? No, it's just wave clear mid and bot lane. RNG don't have the waves to really respond elsewhere, and LGD, they walk away with a free play. Kill, turret, good stuff.
Jinx, of course, gone towards the static Shiv first, which has become increasingly common towards AD carries, although on the other side it's going to be the Kraken Slayer, but otherwise it's a pretty even display in the bot side. Slight CS lead towards LWX kind of gives him that slight farm bounty, ironically. Everywhere else is a bit even as Birdall. Just be a bit aware, this will be a 2v1. I think he's going to be just fine.
I mean, I look at Zero Magic Resist on Ming and Breathe, and I'm like, yeah, Birdall can maybe take that right now. Jinjo needs to be careful. He might get kicked over away from his friends. He has himself Evo, so he'll be safe. Rakan doing Rakan things. This is one of the reasons why LPL likes playing Rakan and Nautilus over, like, Nami, and actually even a lot of the time, even stuff like the Renata. That's a little bit different. Because these supports can do whatever the hell they want, be irresponsible as possible, and still get out alive when they're warding.
Do you remember that old Mars advert with the jump around song with the monks dancing around?
This is the bounce house here.
Yeah, exactly, and that's basically what Wei experienced, and he's not quite down.
Lock it,
oh, the equalizer attempt!
So close, but that's such an important thing, right? Because you kill the jungler, and it means you can just walk across the map in a 5v4. Luckily, for RNG, there are no objectives up for them to use the fact that Wei would have to recall, or of course, even be dead in worst case scenario. Dragon up in a minute and a half, Baron up in 30, but they have no control over the map. So, going back to this trade, folks, what were we talking about earlier? We were talking about what is the value of a mid lane outer turret and a bot lane outer turret compared to taking 2 turrets in that top lane. The bonus is for LGD, they get to walk into the jungle much more easily like this. But Breathe isn't at the outer turret somewhere and able to flank around or something like that. Wei is dangerous, is too much in danger in his own jungle. You can see that LGD really using the map pressure well and justifying the fact that they traded kind of an inner turret for 2 outers.
I think if that read had been right on the equalizer, that would have been a hell of a insult to injury. Doesn't quite happen, of course. Wei continues to try and get some value on the Lee Sin, but really just not been hitting the skill shots required. It's been hanging around Breathe, who on this Jace might well turn into a win condition, but with the jungler on the other side of the map, LGD just say, let's just test this. We've got double AD carry and a Karma. We can do this real fast.
Okay, it's still kind of dangerous, though. They are fish in the barrel. Ming, flash, ult. He can start things off
Lisa's
well.
not here in time. It's going to go down. Oh my god, that rocket got close. Not enough, though. They're going to be the secure. Now, what about the fight afterwards? There's a Lamb's Respite that buys time. The Spiraling Despair is going to be buffered out from that one. It's into the backline. Goes Jinzhao on this Rakan. And it's going to be a 1 for none right now. The blast aren't great. Xiaoye flashes forwards, does get the kill. Trying to back away. Avoiding the severing bolt. What about the fight at the back end? And this is Meteor being run down by the Jinx. He's very excited. Haichao body blocks, but the Sonic Wave lands. And RNG punish at the Baron.
Xiaoye just about gets out. He flashes forward, gets an assassination onto Breathe, and at least buys them 1. LGD, it is a costly toll, though. 4 for 1. They're not going to be able to necessarily keep up the map pressure which they had just before this. They give up a lot of gold to the side of RNG through shutdowns and everything else. They have 1 Baron buff to push up in the rest of the map, but still, I feel like RNG walk away from this feeling very happy about things. How does this start? It starts with the secure onto the Baron, but it's still, you know, still stuck in the barrel. Xiaoye, he's still pretty high HP, but Meteor gets absolutely dunked at the start of this. He's decked. He isn't able to stand up and fight beyond the rest of this, and it leaves Birdall and Jinzhao with a bit of a disjointed, half-hearted backline dive, and it's a very split fight, which the resets from LWX really take over. They can't run away from the Jinx for forever, especially after the fight starts so poorly for them.
Flash from Ming and a flash from Breeze prevent those easy kills from coming over to begin with, and that cost a lot here. And it means not very many people have flashes at all right now. That was just Dragon secured killed there by RNG, so we'll note
Yes, it
that.
was. So, next part of this game, going to be really important, remembering that if any big fight starts, no flashes for the big carries of RNG right now. You've got like 30 seconds till Tanyuan's back up, that's an important one, but Breathe and LWX need to be very careful. They can't get themselves out of an equalizer or away from the feathers if it should come to it as well. So LGD, they have a moment where they have better combat summoners, and they have themselves a Baron buff to push up this mid wave, which will keep RNG accountable there, having to clear out minions and holding multiple people here. What can LGD do to play on multiple lanes, though, to potentially stop RNG from wave clearing as effectively?
Exactly that. The stat spot, I believe, has been right every game so far from what I've seen, despite my eyebrow raising at some of the game states. Clearly just knows better than I do. Valued their soul last game very highly and ended up being pretty valuable. All the while, though, we've got to keep our eyes on how the game plays. Into the air goes Xiaoye, who had way jump towards, but now he's actually rooted in place. Now Meteor can step forwards, huge amount of damage back, but there's no Lamb's Respite! He's detonated because Ming was there to lock him in place with a staggering blow.
Wei and Ming, this godly duo of times past, they might not be making playoffs, but they can make LGD work a little harder for it. Nautilus bails out Wei. Meteor, as you rightfully said, didn't have that ult. It was a couple of seconds off cooldown. You can't pull the trigger on that one. LGD, another swing and a miss. They're getting a bit scrappy now, and this is where we get a bit worried. First game it was like this too. Good early game lead, threw it back, and then some throws went back and forth. Time and time again. LGD, they have themselves the remainder of this Baron buff. Just about, you can see it's still glowing on Xiaoye on one side. But they need to be oh so careful to not give up freebies like this. RNG, they have range advantages. Once they hit big items on Breathe, who does have himself almost 3 items down, particularly Tanyuan as well. Things are going to get very, very dangerous. Wei finds an isolated AD carry in the mid lane. He didn't have flash, but he very nearly got that kick. The Meteor just disrespects Ming coming out of the brush. Gets absolutely eviscerated.
And there was Breathe from another angle, LWX from the other side as well. Between a Shock Blast and a Rocket, Meteor's health bar just disappeared. It wasn't as clean a pick as they were hoping, and now
Birdle's left alone in bot side, so he needs to be careful here too. Again, you can see how quickly RNG are moving around the map with the hex gates. That really really struggles when you're trying to like set up the map to play around side lanes. The hex gates mean that you can get into them so much more quickly. Birdle, Haichao, they are not very tanky. They can get burst out by Breathe and Wei, who have a lot of gold right now. LGD looking to split the map and take this inner turret.
They are, of course, with the equalizer available from Birdle, clearing this wave in the face of that is going to be quite hard. So the tier 2 goes down on one side that's not realistically tradable on the other. Maybe instead it's about mid lane control we should be looking at, but of course still 2 minutes on a dragon, which would be soul point for RNG but not sold. And on the other side about a minute 40 or so until Baron spawns, and clearly LGD has said, look, we just want to really corral some vision around your blue side jungle and make it a lot harder for you to think about contesting a Baron.
While we're talking about this, who are our main characters then? Obviously the Jinx, 3 items, 5, 1, and 3. On the other side, harder to tell for the side of LGD. I think Birdle with that equalizer, he's still the person which I've got my eyes on. If Birdle has teamfight impact, most of the time LGD win those team fights. Can he do so again? He's had one like that so far. It's felt like Ming on the Nautilus has made it hard with the snap engages and then also the Locket Shield as well. So I'm looking at those two realistically. The long-range champions of RNG setting up for the Jinx, LGD, making sure the big ultimates hit before that becomes a problem.
Xiaoye as well, if they complete that likely 3rd item Bloodthirster, looking at the build, could be a really significant breakpoint there. Of course, I'm also looking at the Kindred, who's just hit 2.5 items themselves, building towards the Lord Dominic's regards. So Meteor and of course Xiaoye could still be really threatening here as well themselves. 2.5 items in for Breathe. If he gets a 3rd item complete, that'll be something too.
Well, what do you go for here? I think you can maybe go for Edge of Night.
I did that last game. Yeah.
Edge of Night just tends to be just a really good item right now. There's no reason not to go for all the ways. That's a big kick here. Ming might just die.
He takes a lot of damage. The aftershock is decent, flashing away. Now Wei having to back away as well with the ward down. Not a lot burned there from LGD, aside from Xiaoye's ultimate and a ghost, which are, in fairness, relatively important, so I perhaps rescind that statement.
I'm about to say, those are really important. You do have a bit of cooldown reduction from the Navori. It helps you a little bit, but it might not be enough. Baron spawning in a few seconds, but you have to be fish in a barrel again, and 1 kill going down unlocks this Jinx to do some pretty unsightly things on the other side. Haichao trying to poke out with the Mantra Q, but let's see how quick this Baron goes down before the poke comes in from RNG and they get to return fire.
Teleport now flying. The Equalizer comes along. It's not awful. It splits Tang Yuan up, but the damage onto Jin Zhao is monstrous. The Spiraling Despair. The Lambda Spike keeps him alive, but now they need to back away. The Severing Bolt not quite in, but the rocket lands. Ming now looking for a hook, and away LGD have to fly. Birdle trying to get out of danger. Has got a blast go, but it locks way towards the rest of his team. And look at LGD's health bars, and they can start Baron and Turk and RNG.
Yeah, the health bars are one thing, but look at the Baron's health bar. The range advantage wins out. Now LGD, they have to re-enter the pit. It's like Valorant trying to retake the site, trying to defuse the situation.
There's a spike gone down straight through the heart of LGD after that one. It was a bit of a mess. Can try and come on over. The health bars from RNG on. Fantastic guy that Haichao's teleported in himself. LWX resets, but the resets are through. Jinx gets excited.
3,000 health left on the Baron. There's a flash available from Meteor. Does he die before he gets a chance to steal? He has flash. What do they do here?
Breathe just jumps over the wall to the sky, and the lungs are absolutely deflated though. And now the Baron damage. What's going on? Over the wall they go. Baron secured by Wei, but into the fire and flames they go. Wei trying to get a final kill, a final auto. Can't quite get it. Meteor gets that one. The resets begin to come on through. LWX died. Tang Yuan and Ming alone survived with the Baron.
Absolutely no one is going for an eco around in this tactical shooter. Didn't realize that CS or Valorant had themselves a Baron map, but it feels like we put it straight onto Summoner's Rift. Xiaoyu goes back and Trey goes and buys another weapon, buys himself a Bloodthirster with those kills coming through. These Barons have been so costly in this series. First couple of Barons from the last game from LGD cost them 5 kills, then 3 kills. This time for RNG, they're the ones which find themselves at a real deficit for the actual cost of taking this. Feels like Breathe could have gotten such a clean kill on the other side here. Could Wei have hopped over as well. But Meteor and Xiaoyu just about managed to outplay. The double AD carries doing some massive work beyond this. And somehow, with the E over, the Comet flashed away from Leandri's burn is enough. Birdle catching out the resetting carry opens up another heart-shaking moment for RNG, as Tang Yuan can't quite land his own QWs as well.
Wei getting to hop away as well, just outspacing the Lee Sin. That's the third item complete for Kindred. That's the third item complete for Xiaoyu. It's a third item in for Haichao as well, and the game remains closer to knowing who the victor is.
I have loved the last week of LPL games. If you missed some of them, we've had some real scorchers here. And, this game means very little, folks. These teams, all they're doing is leapfrogging each other for what? Like 10th, 12th place, like for 12th place or something like that. Going towards down there. They're not making playoffs, but they are definitely leaving an impression in our hearts and minds before we see them again in summer. Their last series of spring. RNG missing playoffs for a very, very rare occasion. Only the second time they've done it. And the only other time they've done it is the same time that EDG have missed only their second time as well. Both of them historic orgs not to be seen in the playoffs. To LGD, they're historic themselves, but we've come to know them to be a team which has struggled a little bit more. This one we somewhat expected. RNG, EDG, much less so. RNG, if they can walk away with a victory here, will extend the series. They have the Baron buff still, but they are somewhat struggling in the teamfight execution despite their range advantage.
Fourth item rapid fire for LWX, and it's the opportunity build for Jace, who does so love that item. The decision, this mid lane tier 1 finally about to fall with what remains of the Baron buff. That's plus 406, which is better than the other Baron power play. We saw with minus 61, which I chuckled about briefly last time we saw that, and it's about all we can write home about for now.
So, rapid fire counter for Jinx, really, really important here, because you can just get those extra pop-off moments. Here comes Wei on the flank, has flash, he's going for it, but doesn't get it.
Does not, and the quickness on the other side puts Ming into a dangerous position. Will go 1 for 1, both supports traded. Wei though, so low, Rocket Bell comes across, not quite enough damage. Meteor on the other side going to get redemption back to high HP. Xiaoyu jumped on, doesn't die, and the damage back is monstrous. Where the hell is LWX? He's running away to safety, but how far can they go? They've got to try and get towards the Hex Gates, but LGD know it as well.
They're trying to cut them off the pass. They get the Mantra Q over the wall. Blind Mantra Q from Haichao. Can LWX make it out? The last surviving member of RNG. He has damage, but how much? Not enough. Meteor completes the clean kills, and LGD, after what was a disastrous Baron play, might end up getting themselves a mid-inhib. Is it enough to take the game?
30 seconds.
I don't know if it's enough.
Ming coming up.
I don't know whether he can wave clear. He needs to buy some time.
They're going to try and hold on best they can, but it's literally Ming against the wall. There's no wave clear until Breathe in 15 seconds. He's trying to get towards the wave. He's trying to throw down the Riptides in a prayer, but Ming is not going to quite manage. He's still pulling away people from the tower. They're still falling. Breathe. 5 seconds left. They've done it. LGD 2-0 RNG. in the most bizarre of fashions. It has been a fist fight, a bloody back and forth, but it is LGD that prove the victors.
Argentia, the Spice Masters themselves, they were named after a chili oil condiment.
Oh, man.
And they still keep things hot all these years later. The brand might have left them back in those Dota days of 2009, but all we remember is that in some ways. RNG, they have fought truly hard in this series, but LGD walk away the victors. It's been a disastrous split for RNG.
Yeah.
Nothing said and done. EDG and RNG, two historic odds, holding hands in their most crushing losses this year. LGD, they sadly themselves don't make their way towards playoffs either, but they walk away with a handful of rookie performances and a couple more veteran ones as well to really be proud of. I think Birdle's had a fantastic split. I think on the Aatrox, he's been a real force of nature. I think also Haichao and Xiaoya, I've been very impressed with them as individual players coming up in very difficult circumstances to play in the main LPL from the LDL. They've given themselves some hope hope of growth later into the year.
Yeah, I think that's very true. It's not the cleanest game we've seen of all time, certainly not, but the moments where the plays work feel pretty good, and even when they take some of those risky options, like, yo, we can try Baron here, the thought isn't inherently bad, it's just trying to read the margins isn't quite there for LGD yet when they're taking some of those riskier, chancier plays. I think they are an exciting team. They are perhaps a little better than their scoreline perhaps indicates. And on the other side for RNG, we have seen the growth. It wasn't like they were completely useless in this series. There was some good moments in both games where it felt like they had opportunities to win. It wasn't quite enough, and of course that'll be the last we see of both these teams until summer. That'll be a little while.
And folks, last game of the regular split for these two as well. The official English broadcast is back tomorrow, and what that means is that for the entirety of spring, we have been casting the games which have not been broadcast in English officially. And this will be the last time that we do it for spring, because there will be official broadcast for the last of the remaining matches. We've done about 60 games over here over the last month or two. If you've enjoyed what we're doing, please drop us a follow, please drop us a prime. We're trying to archive the LPL, enjoy it as well, and hopefully bring to you guys an enjoyable product. If you've enjoyed it, just by watching, it means a lot for us. We actually just crossed 3,500 followers as well.
That's amazing, thanks.
Sam, you go do your
yes,
stream.
I am. Come join me.
Well.